Greetings, everyone. It is March 27th, 2022. We're here again, another Sunday, another session with me, talking about past lives and any questions that you might have about what I'm doing, what I do for a living. So thank you for joining in. We're going to give a little bit of time for others to join in so we can start the process of answering questions that you might have. One of the topics I want to touch on tonight is the lessons behind past lives. Why do we keep coming back and doing this all over again? Most of us like, I don't want to do this again. Why do I want to come back again? Well, there are specific lessons that we learn, and it's really attributed to our own soul growth. And so I'll talk on different topics of different scenarios. For instance, hello Mariah, hey everybody. For instance, you had a very difficult upbringing in this lifetime. What is the lesson involved in that? This is what we're going to talk about tonight, so stay tuned. We're going to wait for more viewers to come in so we can get the conversation started. In the meantime, if you have questions, I would be happy to answer them. Just drop them in the comments and we'll get this rolling here in just a moment. Appreciate all of you for joining in. If for some reason you have to leave the live, no worries. I'll be uploading this session tomorrow onto my YouTube channel, and you can find a link to my YouTube channels in my bio. There's a link there for you. So welcome everyone. When will you find your soulmate? Well, ask yourself this, and this is not a fun question. Would you marry you? When you are the person that you want to attract, that's when your soulmate will find you. I don't do past life readings. I am a past life regressionist. I prefer to take people on the journey of discovery. And there's a difference. The past life reader, you'll go to them and they'll tap into your Akashic records and tell you what you've done, where you've been, and possibly the lessons involved. But I love the journey. And I love getting to know people too. Welcome. Hey, Holly. Grateful for all of you joining in. We're going to, start off with talking about the lessons behind why we keep coming back and doing life again over and over. And a lot of times it's because we need to learn specific lessons. We have an agenda. When we come into this incarnation, we come in wanting to learn specific things. So what happens if we don't learn them? The soul is forever. There's no time limit. So if you're worried about not fulfilling your mission this time around, no worries. There's no time limits on that. I had a session this week, and I'll use this as an example as far as finding the reason why we have difficult lives. I had a woman come in this week, and each lifetime we tapped into was that of abandonment and loneliness and feeling like she's a bother to her community and experiencing a lot of loss. And what is the lesson in that? Why do we experience that much pain? Well, pain in itself is basically your body's way of getting your attention to move in a different direction. And so repeating these lifetimes of pain and discomfort, it's getting us to try to move forward rather than staying stagnant. And so with this woman's repetitive patterns of living a life of lack, living a life of just not feeling loved, basically feeling unlovable. This was what the higher self was trying to teach us. Trying to get past that feeling of being unlovable. So this incarnation, what is it that she's here to do? Well, now that we've figured out the past lives and the patterns in the ones that she dipped into, this is calling her attention to the pattern. And this is the lifetime that she gets to make the change. She doesn't have to keep living the same cycle over and over and over again. It is not fun repeating the lesson, but the soul will do that until the lesson is learned. So will you have multiple lifetimes of heartache and loss? And absolutely, until you come in to learn the lesson. And this is a lesson that she's come to learn how to love herself. we are all probably guilty of self-sabotage, and I have been. And this is a lifetime she's came to correct those patterns. And not that it was wrong, it was necessary for her to learn. But in that session, this is the first session in 6 years that I've done that a majority of the session was just out loud crying, just bawling, like, whoa, just loud crying. And I felt so much relief coming off of her, just shedding layers and layers and layers. And one of the things I said during the session was that, when the clouds get too heavy, it rains. And when you're carrying too much of something, you're gonna end up leaking. You have to leak. Let it go. Let it go. And at the end of her lifetime, I called the higher self forward and asked, what is the main message here? And I know that sounds kind of funny, but the higher self said it a couple different times. The person in the hot seat, basically, get over yourself. Get over yourself. You don't have to keep holding that loneliness and that pain and the guilt for surviving a disaster and your village didn't make it. You were the only survivor. Survivor's guilt. This is your turn to release. And this is exactly what happened. It was such a monumental moment for her, especially because the following day she was going off to another job site that had everything to do with what we had talked about in the past life sessions. So in these sessions that we do, I call the most significant lifetime forward, and it's not always what the person wants to hear. It was very difficult, but it was so needed. I had a session scheduled with someone local, but had to cancel. My last medium reading said I needed one desperately. Absolutely, the soul is always trying to grow. So even though we may have a lifetime of hardships or loss, there is a loving message and a lesson behind that. A lot of times we come in to experience loss to overcome things, to break the cycle of abuse in the line of ancestry. You may have had lifetime after lifetime of all of your ancestors just abusive, and you have come forward to break the cycle. So everyone's message is different, and every lesson is different, and it's very important to tap into that. Is it necessary to have a past life regression? No, but it sure is helpful finding those patterns so you don't have to keep repeating them. It's not fun because a lot of people, when we talk about reincarnation and coming back and learning new things, my first thing when I first learned about past life anything or reincarnation is like, why would I want to do this again? Heck no, I don't want to come back here. But then I started thinking about it. Wow, all these lessons I've learned in this life, what else can I learn? I got excited. I'm like, wow, what's the next one have in store for me? What do I want to do next? Yes, Mariah, I have a session with you Wednesday. I'm excited too. Forgive yourself and love deeply. Oh, deeply. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had dreams where I was dressed in a Victorian era clothing. Could that be a past life? Absolutely, it can. Absolutely. A lot of things that will give you a hint or a clue of having other lifetimes is if you were drawn to a specific region of the planet, say for instance, and I use this example quite a bit, my oldest daughter loves Asian food and loves the Asian culture, and her boyfriend, fiance is also Asian. We didn't grow up that way, but she's drawn to that culture for a reason, and it's because she's probably had a past life linked to the Asian culture. You're drawn to early 1900. I love that era too. I love the 1800s and the early 1900s because those are a lot of lifetime. I watch a lot of period romance on Netflix. Bridgerton and stuff like that. I love that era. I love the Victorian era. So if you're drawn to that era, there's a reason. It's because it's familiar to you. The soul loves what it's familiar with. I can't wait for your session. I hope that you're going to be able to sit on that, Holly, so you can be her this time. You alternate experiencing it. It is fun sitting in on sessions. If you love Westerns, it's probably because you have been involved in that. Just reading the chat here, seeing if there's any other questions, and water. Yeah, those are fun eras. Not the most easy to live, but there's so much information and well, think about it, how much this planet has evolved since then. The soul loves to grow. And this is the whole reason for these lifetimes, is to grow spiritually and learn from that. A lot of times when you learn your lessons while you're still in the lifetime, you can then help others go through their experience that's similar to yours by sharing your example. And I made a video earlier this week by not codependency. You know, when you're always trying to help people, wait till they ask you for your experience or opinion before you just unload your life story on them. I'm learning this lesson too, because I want to relate to everybody, and I want them to have their story. I don't want to insert my story in every conversation. So, you know, because I want everyone to kind of think about the loving lessons involved with something. So I'm going to ask you as the viewer in this live session, what do you think the lesson would be in having a child that has a handicap? Tell me, from a love perspective, what would the lesson be in that? I would love to hear your perspective. What would be the loving lesson involved in raising a child that has a handicap? Unconditional love. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, love. There's so many other reasons too. So I'm waiting to see if new ones come in and pop up here. Patience. Bingo. I was waiting for that one. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Holly, you know all about that too, because you've given me advice on how to deal with my son that has neurodivergent or whatever, Asperger's. Yeah. We've never really got him diagnosed because we didn't want to put a label on him, but we know that the similarities of the diagnosis are all there. The unusual mannerisms and the social awkwardness and stuff. But this a lot of times people come in with a handicap because they're new to this earth experience. I used to call them the new souls on the planet. Well, they're only new to the earth plane. And I was reading, let's see. Okay, you have Aspies in the house too. See, we're all experiencing similar lifetimes. That's good. I love seeing things in common. I love that. Sometimes I feel they're so happy. Yeah, yeah, let them be happy. Absolutely. We were learning patience. We're learning unconditional love. We're learning how to love from a different perspective than what a regular parent of children that have no disabilities, you know. Am I scared of death? Nope, because I've done it so many times. And here's something I want you to know. Every single past life regression that I've done in the last 6 years, I always ask them at their last day, was there any pain associated with this death? And even though they were sick lying on the bed or maybe in a war scene, they said, no, actually it was kind of peaceful. You know, the soul leaves the body before any pain exists. Pain is a human, this is just your body's way of getting your attention to learn a lesson too. But yes, let it all go. This is exactly what they do. Acceptance, that's a good one too, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe you're here to advocate on behalf of your loved one or your child. Absolutely. But yeah, as far as the death question, no one ever has told me that there was any pain involved in the death. Maybe the pain of, or it's not necessarily the pain, maybe sorrow of leaving your family behind. So that sometimes happens, but as soon as they take their last breath and they release, the pain is not there, and they realize that we are all still existing on the other side, because the soul isn't just the size of this body, it is so much more grand, and a majority of our soul is still on the other side. This is how we can also, it's the higher self, how we can communication with our higher self is because we're also still on the other side. So there's a question, was me and my oldest son in the Franciscan times, mother and son? That would be something that you can discover in a past life regression, or you could go to a past life reader. I'm a past life regressionist, so as far as telling you what you've done, I would rather take you on the journey of discovery and finding out yourself. But if that's one of the first things that you think of or feel like that's happened before, that is your intuition speaking your truth. So if you own it and believe that, it is so. I'd love to do a past life regression. I've heard it's my time to work through past life wounds. Absolutely. I do past life regression online through Zoom or in my office. And you can find a link in my bio on how to get a hold of me through email or through my website. I don't charge nearly as much as most past life regressionists do, but when I start getting too busy, I might have to raise my rates just to kind of decompress getting too busy, I guess. But right now, price is pretty good. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions on past lives or any concerns, I would love to answer them for you, but I'm not here doing readings, so I just want to let you know that. But pay attention to what you're familiar with, what you are drawn to, areas of the world that you're drawn to that you've never been. There's a reason why you feel this way. It's because you have a connection there. You just don't remember it. The difference between past life reading and past life regression is that the reader will tap into your Akashic records and tell you the lifetimes that you've lived. If you feel like you have difficulty relaxing or unable to go through a hypnosis or meditation, for instance, that would be an ideal time to look up a past life reader, because they can do that for you and kind of give you guidance that way. But a past life regressionist, which is who I am, I love to take people on a journey, and I do have people come in and say, hey, I don't know if I could do this. I said, well, can you relax a minute? Let me go through this relaxation induction, and then we'll try to tap in. And I think I've only had one person in 6 years not be able to tap in, but she was on substances before she came in for the regression, and that I didn't know about. So I think that was kind of blocking her. So I sometimes remember to tell people not to have any substances in your system when you come in. But she was just off the charts, pacing, and I'm like, whoa. But she admitted later, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that before coming in. I'm like, we can reschedule. Can you live more than one life at once? Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I want you to think about the soul as, well, heck, even in the Bible, it would say that you were the body, or they say Christ is the body and we are the hands and fingers. And well, same thing. Your soul is the soul, and the soul has many parts to it. And of course, we are all connected. And if you have ever read on the law of one principle, well, we are all experiencing life from different perspectives, and we all feed all that information into the soul. Some people call it God, some people call it universe, but all lifetimes ever lived go into the universal Akashic records. And it's just a record of every lifetime lived. You can tap into those lifetimes too. This is why sometimes people will come in for past life regression and tap into, I've had like 3 Cleopatras on my chair in the last week. I'm using this as an example, and it's because they're tapping into that energy. It's not necessarily that they were the Cleopatra, but really they were. If you think you are me, I am you, kind of from that perspective, then yes, we experience multiple lifetimes. It's all happening right now. So even though they say past lives or future lives, it's all happening now, but the human mind wants to put everything in a linear order, and so we can make sense of it, but on a soul level, everything is happening right now. Yes, the raw material, absolutely. Yes, the law of one, which is the raw material for sure. Let's see. So Mariah says that she's interested in reading Brian Weiss' book on future regressions. I probably would love to hear that too. I've had, maybe in 6 years, I've had 2 people progress to the future. And so that's why when I have a session, I don't necessarily say, let's go to a past life. I always say, let's go to another life that is significant. And so the higher self will bring whatever life that is forward. And depending on the level of awareness that my client has, this is what the higher self will bring forward. So it's not going to give you something that's too extremely difficult to, what's that word? Something that you can't describe. So it's not going to give you something extremely unfamiliar. You're going to be able to compare it to things so you can describe what it is that you're seeing or feeling or going through, what kind of experience it is. Up until my cousin was 5, he told my aunt she wasn't his mom when he turned 5. He said, "Hi, Mom." Oh, kids are so amazing and so intuitive before the age of 7, before society gets a hold of them. So asking your cousin, I don't know how old your cousin is now, but when they're really young, ask them, where were you before this life? And without hesitation, because of their innocence and their purity, they'll tell you. They'll tell you. He said his real mom was coming to get him. Oh. Hopefully, there was a better ending to that. Hopefully there hasn't been an ending to that story. But we all have people on the other side that are guiding us. Your higher self even, that's the portion of you that's not in the body. And you're not necessarily in the body, you exist outside of the body. This is what they call the aura. You could see people's aura if you practice reading and looking for the aura. I always thought everyone can see the aura around people, the energy around people, because I've always seen it. And when I would describe it to people, they were like, "I don't know what you're looking at." So it was natural for me. It's natural for everyone if they relax enough to look for it, be open to it, and it'll happen. Just like being open to your spiritual gifts, your mediumship or telepathic gifts or telekinesis, moving things with your mind. We all have those abilities. They're innate in us. We just have to, kind of like learning a new instrument or a new language, practice. Practice makes it perfect. That's why when I first started doing Past Life Regression, I was scared to death. I was so nervous. I didn't even, I just made myself do it. And now it just flows. It just flows when I guide people because I relaxed into it. Do people that have crossed over still visit, or do they reincarnate and you don't see them? Well, here's an interesting concept or theory, I guess, and that is that the energy that is them still exists in this plane that we're in now. So that portion of them is here, yes, but do they reincarnate if that's what the soul wants to do? But yes, we know, my husband was telling me about this recently. He thinks that his mother's brother has already came back after he passed. I'm trying to think of a better example than that, though. We are all living, thanks Coco Coconut, that's my stepdaughter. We are all living multiple lifetimes, because if you think about it, I am you, you are me, the law of one. We're all reporting back each life experience for our own soul growth to the Creator. We are fingers of the Creator. I don't know how to better explain that. It's sometimes difficult to find the words. But yeah, am I living multiple the hand. I'm not sure what you're meaning, cat dog. If you could explain what you mean by the hand. I'm also going to look at another question. When I was a child, I felt that I've reincarnated again. I felt like I've done this before. Absolutely, yeah. You have done it before, because the soul is eternal. Why would we just come in one time to learn everything? You can't learn everything in one single lifetime because it's such a short span of a speck of time. Time doesn't really exist. So, thank you everyone for all the likes and the love. Appreciate it so much. But cat dog, if you're still there, if you can describe what you're talking about, the hand. Because I was trying to describe why we think his brother-in-law is already back in this life. I want to give an example too. Do pets reincarnate? Absolutely. When they have they have reasons why they come into, and I want to give you an example of, we had a dog, we have two dogs, and one of them passed away a couple years ago. He passed away doing what he loves. He was barking to his heart's content. He was happy, barking at whatever was on the street, and then mid-bark, he just kind of, so he just keeled over. He was barking too much excitement. We think it was a brain aneurysm or something, just boom. And it was so quick, didn't feel a thing. But, fast forward to maybe it's been over a year now. We ended up getting a cat. And we watched this cat pretty closely when we first got him as a kitten. And he exhibited the same type of behaviors that the dog that we lost exhibited. He would dig in the trash. He would just do random things that our dog would do before. And so even though we gave him a name when we first got him, we changed the name to the dog's name, which was Chopper. So part of us still call him Chopper because we think this is his way of coming back into our lives, and don't have to be the same animal. It's the energy. We recognize the energy. Let's see. So, cremated person, worm eats ashes, bird eats worm, energy moves, or am I too practical? Well, energy is always transforming. Let me think of an example. You've had a bad experience this week because someone yelled at you. Well, that energy stays with you until you release it. It creates a bad mood in you, and then you in turn yell at someone else because you're angry because you got yelled at, and it's like a chain thing. As far as that's not a very good analogy, but we're all technically connected. Everything is connected. So ashes, worm, bird, we all recycle, reincarnation. So I don't know if that's a good enough answer or not, but that was a good question though, and it'll give me something to think about this week as well. How can I figure out what my purpose or why I'm here? Would I need to meditate? Meditation is amazing if you want to find out those answers, because that's how you get in touch with your higher self that has all the answers that you could ever ask. And it's one of the first questions that people bring forward when, at the end of each session, I ask my clients, well, before the session, I ask them, what questions do you have for the higher self that you've always wanted to know about your life or your circumstances right now? And one of the first questions, or one of the main questions that people want to know, is, what is my purpose? Well, your purpose usually revolves around your passion. What are you most passionate about? When I was younger, I was very passionate about special needs, because I had these dreams that I was going to have a child that had special needs. And so I started preparing myself. And matter of fact, in my early adulthood, I was in the Christian faith, and I was the special needs ministry leader because that is what I felt comfortable with. I was very passionate about it. fast forward, I marry a man with a child that has Asperger's, and I think I'm doing okay as a parent, but I still am open to, for instance, Holly in the chat, her and I have talked about this, and we've bounced ideas off each other, and she's given me some really good advice because her son is like 10 years older than ours that's going through this. So it was really comforting to have that conversation. So let's see, how can I did that one already. At least I gave you something to think about. I think about it all the time. Yes, good. Let that curiosity is an amazing thing to have, because if you want to know what it really is, curiosities and ideas are the higher self speaking to you to get you to look it up yourself, do the research. I get creative ideas dropping into my mind all the time, and I want to know more about it, so I'll go down the rabbit hole and just watch and listen to countless videos on YouTube and just learn a whole new skill in, YouTube University. I've learned how to do so much, but follow your curiosities. That's your higher self getting your attention, so you can then answer your own question. This is why we have the curiosities, absolutely. Yeah, I've always felt the pull to be a mother, especially I have dreams about being a mother. I did too. So, yeah, learn all you can. And don't take advice from bad moms. Just look at how their kids are treated. Be the best you can. I always say, I want my children to be a better mother than I was. And then so forth, each generation getting better and better, and dropping cycles of, habitual patterns that are not needed for life. I've yet to become one, hopefully one day. Absolutely. Visualize yourself holding the baby, feel the baby, smell the baby. I used to be a reborn artist. I don't know if you know what a reborn is, but it's basically a baby doll that looks just like a real baby. And I made these for grieving mothers. And I got pretty good at it. I just jumped into that creative mode, and you paint these reborn babies with veins and fingernails and the little cuticles and stuff. Every detail was taken into consideration to make. If you Google reborn babies or eBay has some really nice babies that look just like a real baby. You can't even tell. So I would take these babies out after I made them in public to see if anyone thought they were real. And when they did, I knew that I did a good enough job. And they did. So let's see. Do you readings on those? I actually am not a past life reader, and I want to tell you the difference. And I mentioned this earlier, but you probably weren't here, and that's cool. Past life reader will tell you what lifetimes you've lived. They'll tap into your Akashic records, and then they'll discuss your lives with you, where you've been, what you've done, what lessons have been learned. But a past life regressionist, which is what I am, I like to take you on the journey of discovery through hypnosis. So if you're one that doesn't think you can handle hypnosis or relax enough to go through that, then a past life reader might be a better option for you. But I love the journey. I love exploring, and I love diving in to discover the lessons and the messages involved. And a lot of times in these past life journeys, you'll recognize other souls that you've had other lifetimes with, playing a different role perhaps. You might have a brother in a previous life that you lost or something. In this lifetime, you get the feeling that your boss is very similar to that brother in that lifetime, and you make the connection and you recognize the soul energy. Oh, this lifetime they're playing my boss or my father. We don't come in necessarily the same gender each time. The soul isn't a gender. We want to learn from different perspectives, so we're obviously going to have to be both genders to know what it's like and to grow and learn from. So I wish people would understand that the soul isn't a race, it's not a color, it's not a gender, it doesn't have specific roles that it plays other than wanting to learn and expand. Did you say how to book a session? Yes, you can go into the link in my bio. So if you go up to the top and click on my username, the E2 Mind Power, in the drop down, you'll see a link tree that has my website, it has my email, and you can reach out to me that way. But I do Zoom sessions for people that are not in my state or city or time zone even. I always wanted to do hypnosis. It's actually a better way to look at it, because sometimes people get the wrong impression of hypnosis being, oh, she's gonna make me bark like a dog, or maybe I'm gonna tell my deepest, darkest secrets, and then they have this fear of the too much truth coming out. And that's not gonna happen. You're fully conscious. You're just in a relaxed state. You know, some people, if they're meditators, they meditate every day, a lot of times they'll go into a trance, but trance state is not necessary to tap in to your Akashic records where all your lifetimes have been stored. Just a relaxed state. And that's my job as the Past Life Regressionist, to relax you enough to get there. And I don't mind spending extra time if I have to. You're welcome, Reiki Faith. Appreciate you for asking that. Let's see. Thank you for all the likes, all the love. If you have any more questions about past lives, I would be happy to answer them. I do want to share something in a moment, but my mouth is sticking together. So this week, or earlier this week, I received a package in the mail from one of you guys, Mariah. And in it, I had 2 books come out, and one of them is The Custodians by Dolores Cannon. And I started reading that one because I thought that would be something I could just dive into. And then I started thinking about it, and this other book that came, also by Dolores Cannon, Keepers of the Garden. So I put The Custodians down and I started reading this one, and I got pretty far in, and this was hard to put down earlier today. I spent several hours reading it because I've had a lot of regressions that were very similar to the ones in this book that I'm reading through right now. A lot of similarities, and it just opens my mind to know that I'm doing things okay. we're getting there. We're getting more information out. And then earlier this weekend, my husband said, "Why don't you just write a book about specific topics?" Like I had right before COVID happened, I had a lot of. You just mentioned Dolores Cannon. One of my favorites. A lot of big influence from her. But earlier this weekend, my husband and I were talking about, if I were to write a book about my work, what would I write it about? And that would be, I would write a book similar to the Dolores Cannon material, but I would pick specific topics. Like I was saying, right before COVID, I had like 10 different people come in for regression, and they all had lifetimes as dragons. And they all had the same message. Different people at different times in the month coming in with the same message. And I wasn't a believer before that. It took this to open my mind and realize that there are interdimensional lifetimes we live. So the mystical realm, the mermaids, the unicorns, the fairies, the dragons, the elves, that they all exist. They're just in another dimension of life. And if you happen to become, able to get on that frequency of that dimension, then you could see them with your own eyes. You might see them out of the corner of your eyes if you're a believer. Believing in them also puts you close to that dimension. Let's see. So do you do QHHT? No, I actually don't do the QHHT. Do something similar. Because I also have other schooling under my belt. My Ph.D. is in holistic life counseling. So my sessions they're past life, but I also do a little bit of counseling involved in it. And I also do sound therapy. So in the beginning of my regressions, I usually will use my crystal singing bowls to open up the top chakras, the top 2 or top 3, depending on the person coming in. And what this does is that it activates the energy centers or the chakras, and it helps with focus and clarity. And that's not something that I learned from Dolores Cannon. This is just something because I've learned it in my own sound therapy work, how much it activates those chakras. I should definitely write about, I'm gonna write one about the dragons. Basically, this is what we decided to do. We're gonna pick different niches and target those and label the books as such. Because a lot of Dolores Cannon's work, it's just kind of random put together. Like her Convoluted Universe has so many different topics all shoved into this book series, which are amazing. Don't get me wrong, but they're not necessarily in order. They're just, you could pick at random topics and learn about that. But different life lessons that have been learned through past lives, I want to write a book about that too. Learning how to discover what the lesson is involved, because sometimes when we have a session and I ask the client, so focusing on the previous life that we just visited, what is the life lesson that happened here? What did you learn from all of that loss and all of that sorrow? It's just to overcome sorrow, overcome grief, learn to love. You can't wait to read it. I know, right? I need to start it first. I have notes, but dictating all the sessions that I've done, I don't even know how many sessions I've even done. Pages and pages and pages of files. Just, I'd have to go through and listen to them all over again to really pull out all the information. It's absolutely so cool that you could do this. What a gift to help others heal. Thank you for saying that. This is exactly why I got into this work, because it helped me understand and remember who I was. Meditation, honestly, if people would realize the value of adopting a daily habit of meditation, basically, and it doesn't have to be just sitting in Om. That's good for some people, but not everybody can meditate like that. I meditate while I'm driving or riding in the car because I zone out. That's zoning out. You're in front of the TV watching programming and you're zoning out. You lose track of time. This is the hypnagogic state. You lose track of time. That is hypnosis. You are being hypnotized according to the programming on your television. That's why they call it TV programming. It's a program. All those commercials from the pharmaceutical companies and stuff, that's just trying to get your attention to, hey, what if I have this disease? Let me go to Dr. Google. Oh, I have all those symptoms. Oh, I need that pill. I don't watch TV, and it's not because I don't have cable or anything. It's because I was in a state of depression for so many years, and the moment I turned off the television, it magically went away. I started getting happy again because I didn't know. I was oblivious to the events going on that the media was reporting because it wasn't affecting me. What does the stuff going on in the world today right now have to do with me sitting here at this moment in time? Nothing. I can't do anything to help that. But I can do stuff to help myself, to become the greatest version of myself. So true. It usually makes me fall asleep. Yeah, sometimes TV is a good background noise if you're meditating and you can zone off from the noise of the television and just kind of relax, because that's what we do in front of the TV. We relax. Ooh, I'm gonna watch this show. And you don't do anything else. You're relaxing. Relaxing is a big part of meditation. Walking in nature, listening to sounds, being mindful of your surroundings, taking time to activate all your senses, looking at the trees and the colors and the sounds of the birds and the wind and the tree, the stream nearby, just dissecting each and every sound and just being grateful for it, that your ears work, because some people come in without that, experience. They don't have hearing this lifetime. What is the purpose of being deaf or blind? It's to learn to live from a different perspective. Haven't watched TV in 2 years, Mariah. Good. I bet you're happier. Let's see. I don't resonate with the constant drama. I know. Sometimes my husband will have the TV on and I'm just like, oh, are you watching this? Can I turn it off? I don't think he likes that, but we do have TVs in our house. I just don't use them. I prefer to, if you look behind me, I got tons of books. I prefer to use my own imagination to create what I'm reading. Technology can be a blessing, but also a curse. And I agree. We're eventually going to evolve to a point where we don't need technology. And that's, in some of the interdimensional lives that I've done, technology isn't even a thing. Sorry, I get so dry mouth here. So, I mean, think about the technology that we do have. Back in the 1900s when I was born, we didn't have cell phones. We would just have to be attached to a cord to hear the sound on the other line, or just hear the sound of the other person's voice on a line. And we've evolved enough to bring that forward. So humanity is trying to create the soul experience, or being able to talk face to face. This is telepathic. We can do this without having a phone screen in front of our face, but we're getting so much closer that once we get accustomed to using these smartphones, eventually we're not going to have to use them at all, because we'll be so used to seeing the other person, and just the thought of the person, immediately they are hearing your thought. This happens anyway without us knowing about it. Telepathy. I'll have a thought and it'll come right out of my husband's mouth, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just thinking of that. It's natural. Everybody does it. We just are unaware of it. I need to hear more about this. Interdimensional lives sound so interesting. Yes, lifetimes on other planets. Matter of fact, the book Keepers of the Garden, really good book that Mariah in the comments sent to me earlier from my wish list. Also, Amazon wish list. Put one on your page. I love going through and seeing more about what things that you like, learning more about you. If you go to my Amazon wish list on my bio, or the link tree in my bio, you'll see where my mind is all the time. Lots of books and lots of creative things. Let's see. So lifetimes on other planets. Not every planet is new as Earth. They're a lot more advanced than the Earth lifetimes. And I'm trying to think. Some of these don't have what we call the ego. They're not living in survival mode. We've been put in this survival mode because all the fear-based media, and it keeps our mind in that state. But the moment you drop the fear and drop the need to feel like you have to be in survival mode, lose the ego, or the judgmental mind, the part of you that judges everything coming through your thoughts, basically. So ego is necessary for survival. However, you can definitely dissolve that. And a good way that I started to dissolve my ego, and I still have issues once in a while with that, is to drop judgment. So if I see someone walking down the road and they have this big pink mohawk or something, my initial reaction would be like, what were they thinking? But now I look at it and I say, that's a really cool pink. I love that. That's cool. Creative, I wouldn't be able to do something like that. They're so brave. Just changing your perception of how you look at things. Look at it through the eyes of love. So people that have a past traumatic lifetime, or this lifetime has been traumatic for them, there's a reason why we go through that. And it's to stop the cycle and to grow from it and help others going through the same experiences, really. Let's see. I often wonder if my dreams aren't parallel me in other... Yes! That is also possible, yes. Our dreams, everybody dreams. You may not always remember it, but the soul does leave the body at night. This is astral projection, and most of us are unaware of it. You can become a conscious what I just say? Astral projector, you can consciously do that, but we do it without even trying in our sleep, and that the soul will go experience other lifetimes or other lessons. So parallel lives, absolutely. I agree with that. They're mean, but they're big. Reading the comments. If anyone has any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, so earlier Holly was agreeing that dropping the judgment is so true. It's hard to do because society wants us to be this perfect person of ourselves, I guess. They want us to think, do, and say everything that they think we should do. But the moment you step out of that box of society, then you're labeled crazy. So if you've ever been called crazy before, that's actually a compliment, because it means you've stepped out of your box. You're not like everyone else. You are not, you're living in a world where you don't feel like you fit in or belong. It's because you came to create a new one. Some more stuff on here. I am confused about everything. You know what? I am also confused about, or when I first started doing this work, I was completely confused about it too. So a good way to start remembering things, because you already know everything, tapping into your, I would say go to YouTube and watch videos on the spiritual awakening. A lot of times when you start to wake up from this dream called life and the societal conditioning that you've been accustomed to, you start remembering who you are. You are the soul in the body, not the body that has a soul. There's a big difference. When I learned that, I seen life through a completely different lens, and you'll start remembering things. So watch videos on the spiritual awakening and the dark night of the soul. There are different phases of the awakening. If you're feeling a depression right now, that's probably an indication that you're going through your dark night of the soul. So Christy was talking to Dareth. I think that's amazing. My dreams used to be so vivid, and now I rarely remember them. Keeping a dream journal by your bed will also help you start remembering them. The first thing that you do when you wake up, just write down your dream. And the more you do it, the easier it will be to recall them. I love the visual in Doctor Strange of the Ancient One punching his astral form out of his body. That was so cool. I loved that movie, Doctor Strange. I'm like, we can do all of that. It's so funny that they're basically reminding us of our power in that movie. When do I, man, there's so much deja vu. Deja vu is actually, it could be connected to a parallel life that you're living, and it can also be you remembering that conversation from, having to live that life before. Because like I said, we come in to learn lessons, and when we don't learn it, we repeat that until the lesson is learned. How can you tell if it's your first life on Earth? I feel like I am an old soul, but I don't feel like Okay, that's a good question. Good question. So I always tell people that a new soul, you could tell, and I wouldn't say new soul, because we've always been and always will be. A new soul to the Earth plane, though, that's a difference. So if you're into this Earth plane and you have no common sense, that means probably this is one of your first few incarnations on this planet. And I know we always look at people that have no common sense as stupid, but we have to remember that we were there once too. And so I have a couple children that we're having to teach common sense to, and they chose us as the parents because we needed to learn that patience in teaching that to them. So if you've been told you're an old soul, then most likely you've been around multiple lifetimes, because this is how common sense happens. Lifetime after lifetime, learning things and learning things and learning things. Absolutely. So this is how you can kind of tell if you're a new soul or first time on Earth. I hope that answers your question. So Holly says, my regression helped me see that. If anyone, or if everyone could understand that we're all one. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dara, that's cute. I was wondering if we had any more questions. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and I like to have these at least an hour long. See, I see this as a common theme as all is one, but in that case, we are all going to be here a long time. We've been here forever because the soul is eternal. And like I said, we come to expand, we come to learn, we come to grow. Everything's about spiritual growth. Everything is about love. Not every lifetime is loving, though. And if you weren't here in the beginning of the session, or this live, I was talking about a session that I did this week with a woman who experienced several lifetimes in loss and sorrow and not feeling lovable. And this is the lifetime she chose to do past life regression. And we were able to notice that pattern, that cycle. And the moment we made that discovery, she just belted out, bawling out loud. Just, I was so happy for her because it was such a needed release. Because, like I said, when the clouds get too heavy, it rains. So your soul needs to rain. This is what tears are. It's getting rid of those emotions, or emotions are energy in motion. So release is so necessary to keep transforming and growing. You've been here a long time already. Of course you have. This is why past life regression is interesting to you, because it's familiar to you. There's a I don't know how to say that word. Forgive me. That has vowed to never enter enlightenment until all beings go first. Considering we're all one, it's gonna take a long time. So if you haven't heard of the law of one or the raw material, this really puts a different perspective on things and how every single thing is connected. Hello, Samantha. Those are us that are the healers, need to get busy healing. Absolutely, absolutely. We all come to heal. And you know, the body's state is in perfect health. But when we experience dis-ease, it's your body's way of getting your attention that something's going on, and your disease actually tells a lot about your mindset at the time, because your life is in direct alignment with your thoughts. So if you're not having a good life right now, change your mind. Plain and simple. Change your mind. Start looking through the rose-colored glasses, because it's pretty over on this side. I could see love in everyone, or I could see the creator in everyone. I guess you could say it that way. Or God, whatever word you want to put in there, whatever your belief system is. We go through different belief systems. I grew up Mormon, and then I later transitioned into Christianity, and then I realized I still wanted more. There had to be something more, and you kind of outgrow those phases. And I had someone in my Facebook today on her page. She was complaining, "Oh, I'm tired of going to church because everybody's talking about me behind my back." And I said, how ironic is this? This means that you've outgrown that lesson. They are talking behind your back for a reason. They're behind you. So that means you're in the front. You're moving forward. So keep on going, sister. Keep on going. And when I learned that lesson, I left church because I knew there was a deeper lessons to be learned that aren't taught in church. Like spirituality. They don't teach you about spirits and stuff like that. But I knew there was more. And so I got curious. It's the soul's calling. The soul wants you to grow and expand your knowledge. So be open-minded. Just because someone brings in a belief system that you aren't accustomed to doesn't mean they're wrong. Because really every belief system has one thing in common, and that is love. So I don't judge people on their religion or anything. I don't practice any specific religion other than unconditional love and seeing everyone through those eyes. So, top of the hour. Let's see. I've been sober for over a week now. That is awesome. And I want to tell you something I learned that I posted about addiction on my own, my Instagram, if you feel like following me on Instagram. But basically, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, but recovery is giving up that one thing for everything. And I thought that was, oh, what a beautiful message that is. So keep on going, Samantha. Proud of you. Thank you for all the likes. I'm about to close down the live. I want to be sober for my 3 children. Good. Good. Let them be your motivation. Give up that one thing for everything. Sorry, I was swiping things that are coming into my live. I want to thank all of you for joining me on this live. Love you guys. I hope that we touched on the answers that you were curious about, and if not, I'll be back next Sunday, same time, to have another discussion about this. Where am I from? I am in Colorado, but I do Zoom sessions, so location doesn't necessarily have to matter. I appreciate you too, Daryl. I don't know if I'm saying your name wrong. I think I followed you back, so if you follow me, I'm going to follow you back from these lives because I want you to be able to have communication. If you have any other questions in the week time or whatever, it'll give me an idea of what to talk about in the next live. So yeah, if I've followed you back, matter of fact, I'll just do that right now. I followed you back. I want you to message me on what your name is. Tell me your name. I want to know you. I'm Dr. Cija Ebeling. And if you look at the name, how it's spelled, it is a crazy spelling, but it's Kia like the car. You have a great week, everyone. And yes, Mariah, I'll see you Wednesday during our Zoom session. I'm looking so forward to it. You love being called Daryl. My nickname is Darylyn. That's really pretty. Thank you for that. All right, I will see you guys, or Holly and Mariah, I'll see you Wednesday during your Zoom session. And in the meantime, everyone have an amazing week. Much love to all of you and your families.